No, I can't walk right now. Okay. Okay, so I think it was like an hour. This is like an hour into mushrooms. Homeboy here, he's still um, he's struggling. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about my experience with taking a heroic dose of psychedelic mushrooms. Now, this happened just about a year ago in 2021, and it's given me a lot of time these past 12 months to think back and reflect, and what has it really done for me? And to be perfectly honest, not only has it made me a better father, a better human being, but it really helped me with overcoming my ego. Now, ego death is something that's very synonymous with these higher dosages of psychedelics. And it's a very strong and dominating experience that you'll go through. But to be perfectly honest, it is one that is very beneficial if you can accept it for what it is. And the way that I view psychedelics, they're sort of like almost any other self-improvement habit. Because whether it's taking cold showers or intermittent fasting or writing down in a gratitude journal, whatever habit you want to practice, if the outcome of that habit is positive and beneficial, then it's helping you in some way. And psychedelics, even though in the moment it's not real, like what you're going through isn't real, but you don't really know that. And because what you experience, it feels like reality. It feels like it's really happening to you. The highs, the lows, the happiness, the sadness, the darkness. You can't distinguish between what is real and what is not. So the experience itself and what you get out of it, it's a real experience. As in my trip report that I wrote down, I basically wrote down everything that I could remember right after the dosage wore off. But everything that I experienced in that moment, even though I know right now that none of it happened, none of it was real. They were all either hallucinations, they were in my mind, I was visually impaired. These were things that did not happen in the real world. But it does not change the way I felt emotionally in the moment. It does not change the response that I received from those hallucinations, and from that trip. And so I gained a lot of perspective, especially when it comes to being a father. And this is where I think psychedelics can be very beneficial for some people that are looking for that more, I don't know what you would call it, spiritual, but if you want to look more inwards to yourself and find ways to improve yourself, because it's going to bring up all of your insecurities. So I'm just going to read my trip report that I wrote down word from word, and hopefully you guys enjoy. July 24th, 2021. Sean, Andre, Lex, and myself book a small cottage on the lake in a tiny town on the East Coast. We begin the day by eating some kind of ginger candy that Sean brought, which reduces any future effects of nausea. We weigh out 20 grams of mushrooms and split it amongst the four of us. This will be my first attempt at a heroic dose. We consume the mushrooms and head outside to be in nature. Sean brings a Bluetooth speaker which starts playing some sort of meditative tribal music. The pitch and frequency is soothing as it's intended to help guide the journey. Roughly 30 minutes pass and I begin to feel a strange sensation in my eyes and ears. I do not have my glasses with me, but my vision seems to be improving. I can clearly see a flag and chair across the lake that I could not see before. My depth perception is increasing. Sounds are becoming louder. I look over at a tree and notice that its leaves are oddly shaped like marijuana. The music intensifies as it guides our trip. I begin to feel an immense body high. Closing my eyes reveals an array of orange colors and shapes. I am still self-aware and realize these are slight visual hallucinations. I take a deep breath and close my eyes again. The orange geometric lines form a road and two small orange mushrooms begin to grow out of the earth. They have hands, arms, feet, and facial features hidden by shadows. They appear to be sentient, running around back and forth from left to right, disappearing then reappearing again. I open my eyes and begin to feel slightly paranoid. The sun, water, and trees are now visually overwhelming. Sean, Andre, and Lex seem to be fine. I close my eyes and see more mushroom-shaped beings and patterns. The orange road begins to extend backwards and an inverted auditorium appears in front of me. More shadowy mushroom deities begin filling the auditorium looking over me. I still cannot see their faces as they are engulfed by shadows. Each deity has a mushroom-shaped bell in their hand and they begin a chant of judgment upon me. I am sure this is influenced by a strong memory from Game of Thrones, where Cersei Lannister is taking a walk of shame in the streets of King's Landing. Instead of chanting shame, the mushroom deities are speaking a language I cannot understand. It's reminiscent of the static noises that come from a dead TV channel in the 1990s. I still have a sense of self and who I am. I try my best to submit to the experience and not resist. However, extreme mania and paranoia set in as the Bluetooth speaker stops playing music. Someone accidentally kicks it into the lake. I have a sudden moment of clarity. I turn to Sean and ask him for help and guidance. Sean is unresponsive as he covers his mouth and modestly laughs at me. I am fearful that he believes I'm a burden, ruining his experience. I view Sean as an older brother figure who can guide me out of the chaos, as he is the most experienced in the group. However, Sean remains unresponsive to my requests and he looks off into the distance. I turn back to Andre and Lex for help. Andre appears to be unimpressed as he is constantly talking at a speed 2 times of his normal rate. Lex has his legs curled up in his chest and face buried in his knees. I fear Lex has fallen into the same darkness I'm entrapped by. I mustered the courage to go over to Lex and ask him if he was thinking about Jen and his dog. Lex nods his head, then becomes unresponsive. I realize I'm losing my grasp on reality, as my identity and my own name become fuzzy. I have no recollection of the past or how I even got here. My moment of clarity begins to fade as I feel myself being sucked back into the mushroom world. I try to resist by closing my eyes and looking down at the ground. Everything goes black and I begin free falling into darkness. I enter a world I can only describe as the void. There are various floating pieces of land with purple lightning filling the sky. Everything is dark and I experience true ego death. I lose all sense of self, reality, and humanity. I question who I am or if I ever existed. I cannot distinguish the difference from up and down or left from right. The mushroom people return and aggressively cast judgment upon me. Failure as a father, failure as a husband, failure as a brother, and failure as a son are thrusted upon me, revealing that my existence is just a tiny speck of sand in the grand scheme of the universe. I suffer the worst pain of my entire life and experience the loss of a child. The name Tiffany floods my brain and I am overcome with the unbearable grief of a parent losing their child. An unknown amount of time passes as I go through extreme emotional torture. I experience pain, suffering, duress, agony, helplessness, loneliness, disappointment, and regret. I gain a second moment of clarity and open my eyes. My shirt is soaking wet. I turn to Sean and ask him, why is everything wet? Sean stares at me, shakes his head, and lets out a muffled laugh. He is mocking me because I'm weak. I lose control of my tongue and eyes. I struggle to keep my tongue in my mouth and stop my eyes from crying. I find my phone and try to access its pictures so I can figure out who I am. The full-blown hallucinations make it impossible to enter my passcode. I somehow manage to unlock my phone with a fingerprint scanner. I see pictures of my beautiful wife and daughter. My name is Derek.